My name is Latasha Morrison, and I am the founder and CEO of Be the Bridge. And I believe that discipleship is the key to moving us toward racial reconciliation. Through the process of discipleship, we're able to reimagine what the framework and what our belief system. And I think when we begin to change the narratives of what we believe and why we believe those narratives, then that's when we can really see true transformation. I'm always reminded of the scripture in John 17, where Jesus would say that they would know you by the love that you have for one another, that the love that we have for one another points back to God, to our Father. And for me, that is a conviction and a sense of how are we living that out. And so that's a part of discipleship when we think about how are we treating one another? How are we discipling people into oneness, not sameness? And so I think that's important when we talk about unity, is that it's not sameness, but it's about being unified in our belief system and what we believe about the Father. And I think that's important when we continue in scripture and how we treating our neighbors, how we treating those that are different from us, how are we walking into that, and I think there's an opportunity that pastors have to take what's happening in our country, what's happening in our communities, to take a pause and to really think scripturally, how are we showing up as it relates in compassion? How are we demonstrating grace? How are we walking out righteousness? How are we living into mercy? And I think because those are the things that represent who Christ is, and I think we need to be reminded of that. So I think we have a beautiful opportunity to really change minds and really begin that deep work of spiritual transformation that's going to take to lead us into the work of healing and the work of equity and the work of reconciliation and what that looks like, and reminding us that because of the work of the cross, we have been connected through that bridge of what we say reconciliation back to God. And so that in turn, that repair of that relationship that was fractured with God because of the finishing work on the cross, now we're able to one another be connected to one another in reconciliation. And so I think just reminding us of that foundation and what that looks like, and reminding us of how do we do that. And this work is costly. And it's not easy. And I think it's important for us to lead into that as we're discipling people, that there will be tensions, there will be pushback. But how do we continue in this work despite those pushbacks and that tension? Because this is the right thing to do, that we are to see each other as image bearers. And if we truly believe that we are image bearers, then how are we treating God's image bearers? If we see, and when we look at the beautiful tapestry of God's creation, and we believe that each person is a gift from God and created in God's image, and that not one of us can make up the totality of who God is, and it takes every nation and every tribe, I think we will understand how we living that out, how are we treating God's creation, how are we treating one another. So I think that's important in the work of discipleship, and I look forward to seeing churches continue to tap into some of the brokenness and not being silent on this work. And this will lead us closer to God.